City of Stevens Point Public Policy and General Government Committee meeting, recorded April 14, 2025.
All right, I will call to order the meeting of the Public Policy and General Government Committee at 6:04 p.m. Clerk, could we please have roll?
Kiemer.
Here.
Burrs excused. Steinmetz.
Here.
Lang.
Here.
Boozy. He was going to be virtual.
Virtual, okay. So perhaps no one's in the waiting room online?
Nobody's in the waiting room. No.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and hopefully he can join us. We have a short license list tonight. We have one Class A beer and liquor license for Z's Roadside Convenience. That's across the street from Belts on the southern end of Division. And 3 temporary Class B beer licenses, one for Create Portage County for their Levitt Amp Music Series, which begins on June 5th this summer. Also Create Portage County's Juneteenth celebration on June 14th, and Mid-State Roller Derbies has 4 upcoming games at Willett Arena starting April 26th. And those are requesting temporary Class B, or what is often called a picnic license. Are there any questions or comments from the committee? Any concerns from law enforcement?
No issues.
Okay. Is there a motion for?
I approve. Move approval.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes unanimously. Moving on, item number 3 are our requests to hold events and street closings. Again, the Mid-State Roller Derby is hosting 4 games. They've done this in the past at Willett. Item B is the Hmong Week Central Wisconsin, also a recurring event this year on May 15th. The Stevens Point Brewery is hosting their annual block party on May 17th. And Walk Wisconsin is returning on June 7th with a new sponsor. Let's see, are there any questions or comments from the committee regarding those events?
Looks like it's going to be a fun summer.
Yeah.
Once again, point.
And again, these are all return events that are pretty much listed as proceeding according to the way they have in the past. Chief, is there any?
The only thing is for the Stevens Point Brewery block party, they've been in contact with us because they're a large event with alcohol being served and amplification devices. We're requesting 2 contractual officers at that event, but they are aware of it and they're in contact with us.
Okay, and that's typical of what's happened in the past as well. I did notice with Walk Wisconsin, they don't have any road closures planned. They're just using the green circle route to do their walk and run. All right, is there a motion for those requests?
I move approval.
All right. Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed would be no. Still no Alder Pussy. And those pass unanimously. And our last item is an ordinance amendment. This is for section 12.18, food trucks and carts on city property. This is an amendment of an existing ordinance and also a renaming. I did take a look at the existing ordinance that's on file with the city, and we have the attorney to kind of give us a quick overview of the changes.
So calling this an amendment maybe understates it a bit. This ordinance dates back to, I think, about 2011. And normally, you know, when I try to update something, I'll try to start with it and make changes that are tracked with red line and all that so everybody can see what's being changed. But this thing was kind of a disaster when I started with it, so I basically threw the old one in the garbage and started fresh. But when the current version was created, I was actually on the council, if I'm remembering correctly. And back then, the biggest concern, like, there wasn't even that much discussion about food trucks as we kind of have them in the community pretty commonly now. It was more about coming up with something to address concerns about somebody with a hot dog cart downtown. And those concerns have, you know, maybe not totally gone away, you know, in the minds of, you know, downtown brick and mortar restaurant owners, but the primary, far and away, just presence of food trucks in the community is quite a bit different now than it was then. Obviously, we're thinking more about the ones you see down at Levitt Amp on a Thursday, or the ones you see just, parked for a few hours at, various places around town here and there. So kind of just taking the last 12 years of experience and starting fresh and coming up with this system. I did talk to the clerk's office and some staff from the fire department today in terms of just like the interaction of the license requirements here and the regulations that the fire department has with regards to food trucks. And our expectation is that that will be addressed mainly through just the documentation that eventually gets created for, like a new application form, and also some information that'll go from the fire department to the clerk's office in the form of just like an information sheet with the actual regulations on it. Like, here's what you need to have on your vehicle and in your, cooking apparatus and ventilation and all that stuff in order to be in compliance with the fire department regulations. And apparently there's also a system between our fire department and some of the other ones in the region where, like, for example, if the Marshfield Fire Department does an inspection of a food truck and says you're good to go, we will basically give that food truck credit for that. So we're going to mostly work that stuff out behind the scenes with just the form and the information sharing practices rather than writing a whole bunch of duplicative stuff into this ordinance.
Are there any questions, comments from the committee?
Is there an exemption for like the farmer's market in the downtown area?
So there is language in there about the farmer's market, I believe. I don't have a copy of it in front of me right now. But there's not, when you say, is there an exemption for it?
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't necessarily say yes to that. It's more like I put in some language, if I recall correctly, that specifically called out the farmer's market and said that if, and again, correct me if I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head, that you need to be at least a certain distance from the farmer's market, in which case you could just get a license under the normal rules here. But if you're, basically trying to be part of the farmer's market, you would additionally have to comply with any sort of registration and permitting that they administer for vendors at the market. Yeah, that was something I thought of. Obviously we've had discussions, quite a few over the years, with the farmer's market. There's been a time or two over the years where people have kind of tried to locate on the periphery of the market without actually talking to the market organizers, and that would understandably would cause a bit of concern. So I tried to take that into consideration here. And also one thing I put in there that would actually be a new restriction is if there's a special event, like somebody actually got a permit for a special event and there's going to be food trucks, essentially you'd have to either get permission from the people organizing the special event to be present with your food truck, or you'd need to locate at least a quarter mile from where the special event is happening. Just to, not like, hey, stay out of our event, but more like have some coordination so that somebody throwing some big event doesn't have the surprise of, oh, you have this vendor there now that's 40 feet from your grandstand or whatever it is.
Very good. Any other questions from the audience? Do you have anyone online? All right, is there a motion for that amendment?
I will approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously, and we are adjourned at 6:13.